Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Take TV podcast. Round 20 is over. Round 21 is coming up, and there's only 3 weeks to go. So it's the final straight down the Flemington Straight. We've just passed the post, and the whips are out. And to be honest, we're cracking, but there's not really much energy left. We're just motoring home and praying that the end comes pretty quick. But the boys are here. We're going to talk about injuries. There's always a few injuries every week to talk about, any SuperCoach relevant ones. We'll go over short and crisp. I mean, they're giving us headaches, but they've been doing that for probably 2 months now. So it's at the point where it's just a constant headache now. It's a migraine, really. So we'll talk about some replacements of them, either at their price or maybe we'll talk about some above as well. There's some other talking points as well, some main questions. We've got a Q&A at the end as usual in the Discord. Join that if you want to get involved. And then captain's probably the most exciting thing to talk about every week. We'll get onto those, but we'll start with the boys. George, JD, how are you, boys?
Not too bad. How are you?
Are we down this week, boys? What's going on? Are we?
George is bringing the
right?
energy with another hype podcast from the Fantasy Take TV network. I mean, I'm glad to have you all here.
There is a bit of hype because I'm starting a fan club. So they got the Tom Green fan club down at GWS. Well, I'm starting the Lockie Ash fan club. Who he's going to tag Zach Meritt. So I can not look at another 140 score every week.
I've got a little bit of a photo just for you to look at, George, and some people at home, and that's Zach Merritt with the dog inside him. Look at it. He's got
the dog in him. He's got the dog in him.
I wasn't going to put it up yet, but you just went straight to it. So
look, ZM, what's his number? ZM7. He's balling. Like I've owned him like 3-4 years in a row. It's just this year when he's just on this absolute tear and a half.
I know.
Don't have him, but he's balling
straight for a couple of years, and then now he does this. When you don't have him, it would be pissing me off. But
you know me, like as soon as there's an anti-pod that I got to sit through, I just toys her out the cot in times 100. So
look, what's his nickname in the quad?
Top 5 mid.
Top 5 mid. It started as a bit of a joke last year, but I mean he was good last year. He's been good since being picked up this year. And there was an interesting stat I saw from Fantasy today. So since 2016, he leads home and away fantasy points with 15,338. Next best is McCrae, over 300 behind him. So to give you an idea of how good Meritt's been over the last 6 years.
Terrible. I mean, and this is funny. This is the year he got the injuries, why we got him cheap. And then he's come back and just gone bananas. But how'd you go, George? We'll put that aside. I mean, we'll probably have to mention him again, but how'd you go this week?
2,348 and ranked 2K or 2.1K. Regardless, it doesn't matter too much at this point. Not the best trades. Started on a sour note. Why not end on a sour note? Did Hewitt to Dale. So it sounds like Hewitt's a good chance to come back this week, whereas the commentary last week was he probably was going to be another week. So if I knew that, I would have held, but it is what it is. And then I traded Petrarca to Steele. That's how to waste a trade. Given I've lost Ware's cover, now I'm a little bit nervous about that, but hopefully that works out somehow. But yeah, Petrarca looked pretty good. My positives and negatives for the week will do 3-2-1s. 3 votes for Cripps for bouncing back, 2 votes to Laird for being a captain option, not letting me stuff up captains, and 1 vote. I know everyone has him, but it was good to see Joshua Dunkley, who I will pick next year and the year after that, bounce back. And then my 3 negatives, so 3 votes for the worst. Big O for letting Darcy Fort take the mantle over him. That made me spew up. Next worst was Jack Crisp. Oh my goodness, please do something and not score like a rookie. And number 1 was Jaden Short, who had a chance to cement his role down back, but he kind of didn't play very well. But I'm not. And it was only 1 quarter, but it would have been nice if he stayed down back. So all hope there was lost, but seems to be the usual suspects. JD, how was your week?
My week was pretty good at 2486. So I put 140 up on you, which was nice. And I've moved into the top 3K, which is good. Catching, no trades whatsoever. My 3-2-1 for the week. So getting 3 votes is Jake Stringer. Brought him in as cover, and the week that he needed to step up with Cogs out, he's put up a 114 on North. Very happy with that. It could have even been bigger as well if he just kicked a little bit straighter, but look, no complaints for the 114. Very good cover there. My 2 votes is going to one Zachary Meritt, top 5 mid himself. Very good performance and continue to save. And it goes hand in hand with my 1 vote. My 1 vote is going to Petrarca. And really the combination of Meritt and Petrarca have brought some of the best content out from you this year, George. Your video this week, absolutely losing it at these players. I know they were both big parts of why you lost it. So yeah, they well-earned votes this week for Meritt and Petrarca. And then 3-1 on the negative. So starting out with 1 vote, McCrae, just not good enough at 82. And I'm just looking at some stats that Freako has tweeted out. His 4th quarters for the year in SuperCoach has been 18. So at quarter 1, averaging 34, quarter 2, 33, quarter 3, 30 for SuperCoach, and then quarter 4, 18. Not running out games. And yeah, definitely felt like he faded again on the weekend. Just hasn't been good enough and very disappointing. It's going to be a big talking point in the offseason of whether or not he gets started next year, just given his history and where he'll be priced at. 2 votes is going to Crisp. I mean, I've hated this pick all year ever since I started him, and he's just really showing what a potato he is by name and by nature. So, yep, not good. And then 3 votes is going to one Spike McVeigh. What he did this week. So, I mean, how is Cogs like sore enough that he gets pulled out because he would have been a risk of injury, I think was the quote, if he'd played, but they didn't know that on Thursday. That's weird. And then secondly, what they did to Himmelberg, which was his signature move to swing him back, one of the best intercept defenders since he got moved back, and they randomly put him forward for a half, looks completely lost. The whole team's balance was out of whack. So whatever's going on with him, terrible. And if he's auditioning for a coaching job, as much as it pains me to say being an ex-Bomber, he's a long way off it. And now talk that he's going to send Lockie Ash to Meritt. I hope not. Because if he does that, he might be in the 3-1 again next week. So Spike
he
McVeigh,
cannot possibly not send Ash to Meritt. There's no way. He put him on Warner last week. There's no way it's happening.
Look, all I'm going to say is he started off better than Leon Cameron, but he's not trending well. So Spike McVeigh, you're on notice. Eno, how was your week, mate?
Probably, yeah, in between you two boys. So 2-3, 96, and went up a massive 26 spots, I think it was, to pretty much sit at 2.5K or 2.6K. So was making ground every week, still make ground, I guess, this week, but not much. So Cogs, yeah, as you just said, that whole debacle, finding out obviously now before the game, late change, it's just weird. Like you manage someone an hour before the game, that's something during the week that you're going to do. So didn't really buy it, had no cover. Paul Curtis out with COVID, unfortunately, the timing of it. So just flipped the last trade and had to go to someone now. 550K, I think I was just 10K short of Himmelberg, which of course would have turned a bit pear-shaped. Rosie was someone I would love to own, but he's gotten so expensive now. So below that, it really was Baz. Baz Lenker was 530, I think. And then further down was like Taranto. And obviously Rowan is he also like 470 last week. I just didn't consider him because at that point in time of the day, Tom Campbell was still playing. I know you experienced that in Fantasy JD, but
yeah,
that was a pain. So Baz, look, I'd trade him in knowing he probably wasn't going to go well at Cardinia Park on that skinny ground for how he plays and how Geelong sort of strangle you. So I think he got enough of the ball. He just loves butchering it. So he needs a lot of the ball to actually score pretty well. But hopefully he's got some good games in him to finish the season. Got no trades left. But quick 3-2-1s on the positive and negative. Positive, I think it's probably obvious, but I have to go with it. And that's Tuke Miller after I VC'd Steele for like a 107. I had to see someone on the Sunday and Neil and Tuke. I was flipping between and sticking it on Tuke. And getting a 150 was nice after it was looking pretty average in the third quarter. 2, again, Zach Meritt. I won't go any further before George's head explodes. And then the 1 is probably it's probably stupid or weird, but Luke Parker, because I've had him for 5 weeks and he hasn't really gone big yet for me. So getting a 120 was sort of well overdue. And then for the no goods, I hate to give 3 to Baz on debut, but he's killed me this year and he's killed me again. So I'll give it to Baz. But I still believe he can turn it around. 2, I guess we'll throw Shorty in there, but we can talk about him in a bit, but Dimmer played him, I think, 3 positions in one game. So it's pretty hard to get continuities. I said to JD, I think he wants him to be Liam Baker, but he's not Liam Baker. He can't do that, not even game to game, but within game, do this, change positions. So he needs to lock down either half back, move him back there and for good, or leave him at half forward midfield. So we'll talk about him in a bit. And then Dylan Moore. That was annoying after getting such a good score last week with 0 clangers, trading out DC, who did very well this week. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Grundy. But he had like 6 clangers in the first quarter. So I think he had 0 last week, 6 in the first quarter this week or something, just killed his score. I think he played well in the second half, but wasn't enough to wrestle it back. So let us know what you think of the 3-2-1s. Was something we're just trialing. We might continue it next year if you enjoy it. It's not always just going to be the best and worst scorers. Sometimes, like JD Stringer, he's bringing him in for cover and getting a good score out of him at a timely moment. That's what the votes will be for, rather than just best scorer to worst. So I guess we'll get into the injuries and the SuperCoach relevant ones. George mentioned Hewitt. He had to trade him out, which is what I sort of did last week because of no cover, but it was because I wasn't sure. And a back injury, like you said, he's had in the past, is something that you just don't really know. So he's still week to week. We don't really know as of on a Monday whether he'll play this week, but I think it's probably more unlikely than likely that he gets up. I don't know your boys' opinion, but they'll want him right for finals. And they really, I think, only need to win one game from here out of the 3 to make it. So
tough fixture.
Yeah, I think they would just play it cautious with him.
I mean,
is my opinion, but we don't know.
If he's back sore, do you really want to sit him on a plane to Brisbane and back?
Yeah. So I think we'll skip to Jacob Ware, who we just found out is probably relevant to Hewitt, and he's out with a calf apparently for 2 to 3. So a lot of people were just playing him until maybe Hewitt's back. So that's a bit of a spanner in the works. So I think if you've got Hewitt and Ware in that situation, you just got to trade Hewitt, obviously, if he's not playing this week, and find the best option. It's pretty much all these rookies and cover players that are pretty relevant. So the next one's Taylor Adams, who's out for the year. He went off with a groin, and apparently his year's pretty much done. So Carmichael, who's been sub for a couple of weeks, played well when he's come on. You would assume would be the one to get into the 22.
Has to play, surely.
If people are
Hang on,
relying
we're
on
forgetting
him,
someone.
Good. Who?
Finlay McCrae is making his comeback. No, he could be sub. Hopefully one for next year. He's doing all right in the VFL, but I don't know. It feels like it's been 20 weeks since I've been able to mention Finn, but move on.
And it's funny because the next one's Jai Cully. So 2 weeks ago, George was like, "Oh, definitely Carmichael," and then it's like, "Oh, Cully's got the most CBAs and he looks like the best," and so you're like, "Oh, I got that one wrong," and then now Cully does his head. Well, first he elbowed someone and it was going to be out anyway. Yeah. And then he does his hammy, unfortunately. So they probably won't risk him. And now Carmichael looks like the better option. So just been one of those things the last couple of weeks.
Well, hammy Cully's done now. So Carmichael, I guess it's kind of hard to tell it. Like this, the way it's played out is just who knows. So yeah, if you got Carmichael, great. If you got Cully, well, you got a nice loophole. So it's that.
And then I think maybe Grundy coming back is not really an injury, but one that may be relevant to, I guess, anyone who's still got Darcy Cameron. And I don't know, maybe us just trying to figure out who the hell we start in the ruck next year. Get a look at Grundy, see where he's at, because he's certainly going to be cheaper than he usually is. So that's all the relevant injuries we know now. As again, on a Monday, we don't know. It can always come up late in the week, and the injuries are sort of released tomorrow night. So we'll see if there's anything new that comes to the fore, but I think I'll pass over to George to say a word about our lovely sponsors.
Yes. Manscaped, they have their new Ultra Smooth package. So it's time to stop, drop, and order this premium shaving kit. Everyone knows about the Lawnmower 4.0. I think 6 million men now have Manscaped products. So you're probably missing out. So what's that? A quarter of Australia, not necessarily Australia, but 1 in 4
Australian men are the best groomed men in the world. I mean,
forget that. But yes,
and so if you're not, time to jump on, I reckon.
Yes, embarrassing, shameful if you don't have one by now. But yeah, if you're looking for a closer shave to go bare down there, then the Ultra Smooth package is the perfect set for you. It's time to shave and brush up on your below the waist, and use this discount code FTTV for 20% off. Again, why would you shop retail when you can get 20% off with manscaped.com. Now, boys, we have these Manscaped products, and the Lawnmower 4.0, unbelievable. You get the gel as well, the crop shaver razor as well, doing an unbelievable job for us. Tell us about your experience with the closeness of your shave, Enno.
Right, just before Edo does that, can you say crop shaver razor 3 times? Really quickly.
Crop shaver razor, crop shaver razor, crop shaver razor. That's as fast as I can go.
It's actually been really good. Like it gets really close to your skin. Like the one I used before sort of was just like it was getting to like not as close. Like it was sort of still a little bit left over. Like not a smooth clean shave. So it's definitely
Prickly.
better on that front than it wasn't like a full shave. The one I used to use, it just would get it pretty short. So this one's a lot better. Makes it like it's smooth. It's not like any flaky skin or anything. So I've been enjoying it very much, and I think the old man will be getting one for sure in a few weeks. So how about you, JD? It doesn't look like you've been using it on your face, but what about down there?
Hey, come on, mate. Well, yeah, I think the best part is definitely, Father's Day coming up. I don't know about you. I'm always struggling for gifts and gifts ideas. So this one just seems like a bit of a no-brainer this year. It comes in such a cool package. The products are like, some of them sound a little bit novel when you first hear about them, like the crop exfoliator and the crop gel, but then you use them and you totally get it, right? You're like, well, how did I ever groom without these products? So all really good. And I must say, the name of the new set, the Ultra Smooth Package, I was watching an Ultra Smooth package on the weekend. Jake Stringer, the 114 in the SuperCoach, and the goal that he kicked where he just got his toe to the ball. Now that is smooth. And if you want to be that smooth, then maybe you should be checking out some of these great Manscaped products using code FTTV at checkout.
Beautiful. Well, I think we'll get to the waterbed at the start of the year, technically, which I don't still know what the result of it's going to be, but it's actually remarkable now. I'll get up on screen where it's sitting.
No.
So, JD, if you want to go over it. It's just
so I think there was only a couple points last week between Rao and Lipinski. Rao's actually lifted with a 101 on the weekend, which now takes him up to tied with average on with Dil Shil, who's been in really good form, but obviously sat out with injury on the weekend. And Lipinski doing no harm either with a 85. But yeah, just now what is that, 19 points behind Rao. So very close neck and neck from here to the end of the year. And I must say I fancy Rao's odds with Hawks match up next. Probably a little bit better than Lipinski playing against Melbourne. How are you feeling about this bet, George?
I haven't really paid attention. Actually, I've watched a bit of Essendon games because I'm praying for Meritt not to get the ball. So I watched Shield, and he's been in quite good form.
He's leading the league in clearances, which is like really surprising given how maligned he's been with Essendon supporters.
I think it was like this. Was it Senec bounce clearances? I think.
Yeah, it must be Senec bounce clearances. Yeah,
I think because like what Hewitt was doing early, but it's funny. I feel like these three are like in sync. They always like have a poor week together or a good week together. Just landed on the same average. So
3 weeks to go.
Do you know who Rao's final game of the year is against?
Yes, because Took's captain that week, isn't he?
Yep, it's against North Melbourne. Yeah. So he's got Hawks and North in the last 3. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. But Rao also doesn't strike me as the type that like is going to just rack it up in those easy games just because he can.
Just quickly, is he ever going to be a primo? I just don't know.
Year 3, I think it's see how it goes. It's not looking as promising as it was. We see the outside game needs a lot of work.
Yeah. But I think it will be easier for him to get than you realize. Like, because he was definitely showing elements of it in the early years. I think he's just had to come such a long way back with his body.
2 injuries.
After missing basically 2 full years and the hype behind him. I don't know. I think next year's make or break in terms of like, will we actually see him get to elite ceiling? Not in terms of his career, of course. He's
not
a
footballer.
Player.
Yeah, he'll be fine. Yeah, I know what you mean. Because I mean, it's hard to be a premium these days. You pretty much need to be thereabouts to 120 to even be considered. So, all right, let's rip the Band-Aid off. The first topic that none of us really want to talk about, and I guess you two more than me, because you've looked at both of these blokes in your side at most of the year, and that's Short and Crisp. So, Shorty, just as I was saying before, and we saw on the weekend, thought he would be playing defense, and he did start that way, and he tried to kick the leather off it 2 or 3 times and front punted it, I think twice, one from a kick out, which resulted in a goal. And whether Dimmer just said, nah, get the hell off, you're not going back there, or whether it was, in game to move him back forward, I'm not really sure. We didn't cop an injury till later than that, so I can't really blame it on tactical, but he played back in the forward line, even like George was saying, deep forward for like a quarter. And then in the second half, he was actually up more around the ball. He just didn't really find it a hell of a lot. So he's been annoying. Chris, on the other hand, he's played forward a bit at times, but he's been in the midfield enough to where he needs to score better than what he is. So what are your thoughts on these two? I think we've said it enough, but I guess, is it really worth trading it to anyone? I guess we got to start with at their price or under, or do we just cop it for the rest of the year?
I think you just cop it. I mean, we've got Robbie Fox here. He's been playing down back. I think Blakey's been playing well. Whitfield, and then Isaac Cumming. So out of these, probably Blakey or Isaac Cumming. As JD writes, Zorko. I would just hold. I think there's a minor chance that there's a turnaround, and we're waiting for the turnaround. It's not happening. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. Short's at least getting a few marks. They do feed him the ball a little bit. So if he goes 80 from here, unless you can afford like a premium, then otherwise I think you just hold from here.
I think the obvious thing is if you've got like 3 or 4 trades or whatever, and you can get a short or a crisp up to Stewart, whoever, right? Like you go and do it. But I have seen a few questions this week saying that they want to move them on, but they don't have any money. So it's either hold short or crisp or go down to one of these other options. And so the question is, do any of the names here appeal to you enough? Robbie Fox, Nick Blakey from the Swans, a good run. You got Whitfield, who's now coming back off injury. Can he run out the year? Cummings seems a little bit scuffed with Whitfield back there. And then Zorko has actually put up some pretty decent numbers the last few weeks. And he's cheap at 353. 1,000, which is ridiculous, 354,000. So he's actually one that if you had 2 trades, right, you can do one up, one down by going crisp to Zorko and then I don't know, McCrae up to someone or someone in your forward lineup.
Yeah, that's true. If you got one trade, is that better used waiting for an injury or going one of these guys to one of the to be honest, I don't even see anyone appealing at all to warrant using that last trade that you have. So as JD said, if you got a couple more, why not go for it? But if you've just got the one trade, just hold on to it. I don't see the point. And I think Crisp is more of a chance to turn it around than Shorty, as I've always said. I know. I'm still surprised he's playing this bad. Even me. I know it's funny, but the thing is they do have some pretty hard teams to play finally, don't they? They haven't really been playing too many good teams, and they cop a few in the last few rounds. Like Carlton round 23 isn't great for a mid, stuff like that. So we'll see, but I don't think the trade's better used on anything else.
What about this? Say you've got 2 trades left, right? You could go crisp down to Zorko, you get about 90k, and then with short and the 90k, you have about 550. So you'd be looking at options like Tom Barras, who's got a 3-round average of 130, or Angus Brayshaw, who's just been moved into the midfield for Demons. Would you consider that type of trade, or maybe even
if you
Dawson?
Had both. If you had
Dawson, if you didn't have Dawson, if you've got both, both short and crisp.
Dale's affordable there as well, if it's that much. If it works, he's 544. If you're getting Zorko, you need to have someone on the bench. Put it that way.
Yeah, yep. I don't know about Zorko.
And with Ware out, that's what really D'Ambrosio
probably kills this. Yeah, is Mastrobo going to keep playing?
I think so. It depends on how long McGrath's out for. I mean, Caldwell's out now as well, but we've got Shield to come back. I actually don't know what our injury list looks like. I'm really interested to see what it's like on Tuesday, because there's been a lot of these injuries, but not a lot of word on what they actually are and the time frames. Yeah.
Fair enough. We've spoken enough on these two guys. Just let them rot until the end of the season and probably never consider them again. Like from here, I'll say I don't think. I've always said it. Not many Richmond players are fantasy options at all altogether as a whole list. They never have been. But
if Short's getting moved behind the ball next year and they come out and say the midfield experiment failed, you'd have to consider him because at least he's
Dimmer was
durable.
like, he's not, you know what I mean? But things change. So
and the start of the year, for the start of this year, he was genuinely one of the best players for the first
he
like
was
4
fine.
weeks
I think
or
he had
something
one
like
terrible
that. Yeah.
game over in Adelaide where he scored like a 60.
But he
when we
made that up
lost.
with a 152 in round 7 against
Yeah, but
West
that was
Coast.
the midfield game, so he didn't play much. He
Oh,
was only
okay.
6 rounds behind the ball. It was weird.
Yeah,
So
okay. Yep, all right.
unless there's no other cheap options and he's like an enabler, as they call it. But
Yep.
I think we just forget about him. There's a lot of good defensive options. It feels like. Next one, sort of a hypothetical, but for the last 3 rounds, would you rather have Rowan Marshall, who we saw absolutely take the P155 against the Hawks on the weekend, had 30 disposals as a ruckman, scored the 170, or Timothy, no speaker English, who sort of been doing our heads in, I guess, since we traded him. I haven't looked it up, and George said it on his video, but the Heaney to English trade is definitely net negative, and I can't believe it.
And we don't get to watch Heaney get 4 tons
and
in a row.
JD's getting a bunch of tons from Heaney in the process.
It's
I
so
can't
funny.
wait.
Like the chats that we're in, where earlier in the year, and every time Heaney would fluke something, everyone's going off. And now, like Heaney kicking goals and stuff. It's just me.
It's
I'm
dead.
the only one. I'm the only one that's happy. No one else is chatting Heaney talk anymore.
Oh.
It's so weird how it's flipped on its head.
It's so funny.
Yeah, so I thought this is an interesting question because there are some people that might not have either and genuinely be looking at them as a, say, Darcy Cameron owner, for example. And it is nice to keep that ruck loop open as well if you wanted to do that. So I think like Marshall obviously has form on his side given what's happened last week, but I think the matchups slightly are in English's favor. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, Rowan has Geelong, who kind of restrict. He has Big O or Fort, who restrict, and then have the Swans, who I can't remember if Hickey's injured or not, but
they've been pretty friendly to score on just because Hickey hasn't been. 100%.
I think Marshall's got that around the ground. He's got the follow-up. He tackles. He looks good. I think it looked like he was at a limited preseason. So I think Rowan's looking raring to go. I would go Rowan just because I honestly have no idea what sort of English is going to turn up because 3 out of the 4 games since his return from concussion have just not been good. And he kind of recovered what was looking like a pretty poor score on the weekend. What did he get, like a 70 or 80 or something? So
79, which is pretty bad. I mean, he had like a 97 and a 122, but then a 51 and a 79 between them. So 2 decent scores, 2 shocking scores.
I like Rowan from here. Rowan, no reason why Rowan can't do 110 like he has in the past in the number 1 ruck role. So I like Rowan. And English ceiling has a ceiling too, but I'm just not sure what I'm going to get from him.
I
think it's Marshall for me too. The thing with English, he just touches it down, right? He's getting 9 or 10 a week, not 19 or 20 a week that he was when we all didn't own him. So, don't know the reason for it. I guess Geelong ground doesn't help, like Baz I was talking about. But yeah, Marshall for me.
Yeah, so I think I'll break the mold here and actually go English. So his 2 bad scores in the last 4 weeks were against St Kilda, which when Ryder and Marshall playing is like one of the most restrictive duos. And then against Geelong this week, the 79, most of the Dogs scored poorly. And he also only scored an 80 on them earlier in the year. Geelong's been like surprisingly hard to score against the rucks, despite their rucks being not great. And they had Blitz as basically following around the ground, which I think drags on his score. In his next 3, so they've got Darcy this week, who I don't think can go with English and around the ground.
That's a good matchup, probably, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's a great matchup, but it's okay. And then in the last 2, you've got GWS, who have been shocking. I mean, the biggest concern for English is like Bruce will knock him out again. And then the Hawks, which I don't think is a particularly bad matchup, should get lots of kick mark around the ground, I would imagine, in that one too. So I don't know. Maybe I'm too biased towards schedule, but I would probably have English ahead. Although I could see myself easily being wrong over a 3-game sample size here.
Yeah. It's the kick mark game. Is it going to happen? Is it going to show it like he did earlier on?
Yeah, the Dogs' possession game. And I mean, I think he's still been trying to get involved. It's just much harder when Blitz is following you around the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was it the St Kilda game where like Dogs were just atrocious by foot. They missed him so many times.
Yeah, that's right. But he played a bit more forward too, right? he's been kicking goals.
Well, they had one game where they had Sweden as well, right?
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird with their team. Like Josh Bruce is playing, but he's basically just putting a jumper on and not really doing anything else. Like he's barely done anything. Norton, I guess, just came back right from injury. But I don't know. It's recency bias. Let's be honest. Miss Rowan's 170, so I think he can do it, again. But it's obviously not always true. Next, we'll go to a bit of a contentious one and probably something we need to think about into next year, and that's Harry Himmelberg. And first of all, are we worried about him for the next 3 weeks? And then I guess it's hard to even talk about next year at this stage without a coach in that team. But yeah, leave it just to the next 3 weeks. What do we think's going to happen? Was it to avoid the inevitable tag that did come when he did go there in the second half, right? As soon as he went there, Ryan Clark was straight next to him. So was that maybe part of it?
Just hold. He'll be fine. I think they said after the game that didn't really work with him up forward. I read that on Twitter somewhere. Spike said that. So hold. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yep. I guess that they're trying to fit in the youth and play them, and Himmelberg's one can sort other positions, but he's so clearly been their best defender when back there.
Yeah.
I think what's the most frustrating part as well is that I think Himmelberg genuinely would have gone pretty decent down there. Like Haynes was getting involved a lot, just with all this transition play that you're like, that should be Himmelberg. That should be Himmelberg. Like what? Anyway,
with how bad they are too, man. That a 90-point loss, he would have gone monstrous.
Yeah. I think the Clark tag's the only thing would have limited that, but yeah.
I was definitely looking at him if I could afford him, but kind of happy I didn't. But he should be playing back there.
Yeah.
Got the next one down here. Is McCrae a trade?
No.
No one's really a trade at this point unless they're injured, really, or unless they're Jack Crisp, or Jaden Short. But even then, as I said at the start, I don't think they are either. So. No, he's not a trade, but it is, as JD said in his opening, more towards next year, really. Is he a starting pick? And a lot will ride on Josh Dunkley, whether he leaves the club. A lot will ride on whether you think he can get back to being one of the top mids. Stats really weird, where he just been fading out every game. I think a few of those games though earlier in the year were like him just getting shafted and not even playing in the midfield in the last quarter, which was that's just Bevo. That's not him. So
I think the two things that stand out to me as weird as well is Bailey Smith is clearly more favoured in the midfield rotations this year than we've seen in past years. And then in the second half of the year, Bontempelli's taken over the midfield and Dogs have looked better with him at the helm. Let's just be real. So I think that's a little bit worrying that there was another stat, by the way, of only players that hadn't been dropped by Bevo. And there's only about 6, and 2 of them on the list are Bontempelli and Bailey Smith. McCrae's been dropped by Bevo before. So just interesting to see who his favourites are.
When did Bevo drop him? Maybe 5-6 years ago?
Yeah, something like that for 3 games. Because he's basically played every game. So it must have been one of his first years. But yeah, so I don't know. It just feels like with him being one of the ones he's happy to move out and play in a role that McCrae's body language clearly shows he doesn't like. It was 2018. He was dropped for 3 games. There you go.
No, he did a hammy. I remember that. Traded him for $700K. He did a hammy at halftime. Would have been the year before that, I think.
Oh, it might have been 2016 then.
That was
played
a good
18
memory.
games.
I remember that.
Yeah.
But he also had a hamstring in 2016, so I don't know. That's weird. Someone said he got dropped, so maybe he hasn't been dropped, and it's just been injury games.
What was Bevo's first year? 2015. They made
probably would have been a first or second year. Would have been his first year. Second year he was balling. You're 100 average second year.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 2015 then.
Or they made it up. Who's this guy?
Maybe. Could be. I don't know.
Had to be early.
Fraudulent stats.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think those other concerns, it just seems like of the midfielders, he's not as favoured as the other ones. But you could see if Libba, for whatever reason, was injured again next year, if Dunkley goes, there's ways we can end up with him. But I'm just worried with if all the Dogs are fit and healthy, it feels like he's a little bit out of favour now, and it means the 125s are off the cards.
I know it's a hypothetical, but him and Steele are about 3 average apart. Maybe that gap tightens.
Steele. I'll start Steele.
Yeah, I won't even ask the question. I know that you can say, well, I can start both, which of course you can. But if you had to pick, I think we're all going Steele.
Worry about that next year.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next year.
McCrae starts seasons well, so I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, well, you didn't start him this year, and then you forced him in. Sorry. If
Played on
you're
a
down to
wing
one
on
trade, I
third
think
man.
this question we've pretty much answered. If you're down to one trade, do you use it or hold this week? I think the only reason you use it is if
Go
you got an
Petrarca to
injury.
steal if you want.
You're
Why?
only doing that to afford Stewart, and then you didn't end up going with Stewart, right?
I don't
So why
know.
the hell did you still do it?
I don't
Perennial
want to talk
Stewart
about it.
hater, by the way,
Just-
number one. But
He's just an overrated player. That's all. Just doesn't defend one-on-one much. He's just
So Stewart.
defensive brass. Yeah.
a lot
Wait,
of defenders
you've
do that
been-
in
He's
the
like
modern
people are like,
game.
oh, he's the best defender in the game by far. Well,
But
You've been
George,
riding
every system
Sicily
in the
the
AFL
whole
plays
year.
like that.
You've been
Every
riding Sicily the
system in the
whole year.
AFL
They
does
make
that.
Sicily. Who was he playing on? Max King, like 15 centimeters on him. Like, what
Yeah,
are they
yeah.
doing?
He's finally been accountable and his scoring's been dipping a bit.
Because he's a third tall. Sicily's always been a third tall. I don't know why they're playing him key position. But he's so good that he can play that position. Whereas he's the same height as Tom Stewart. Tom Stewart cannot play on an opponent. Remember the game against Charlie Cameron last year? Lost in the
He's a
game.
small-
Anyway,
He's a small.
they gave him a lockdown role, and it's like, nope, we're never doing a lockdown role for Tom Stewart ever again because his opponent was best on ground.
Don't know why that affects your SuperCoach picks, but anyway. Is Redmond in your rolling top 6 defenders from here to the end of the year? Good one, JD. He probably is.
Oh my
to be
god!
fair, like he's demanding the footy back there. So, yeah,
he
enjoy
is.
to watch as an owner.
Yeah, it must be nice for Supercoach. It's a weird one, right? Because he's 3-round average for defense is still like a 125, and he had a
40.
injury-affected game where he missed a half a footy in there. So he's had 2 blistering games either side. The one thing I do worry about is that his opponent this week, was it Spicer? Who did he man
Don't
up
know.
on?
Probably no one.
No. He was manned up 1-on-1, but like genuinely,
I meant no
every
one
time the
because it's
ball went
North.
through. Yeah. No, it was no one good.
Sorry.
Yeah,
No
like
offense.
so. Even though it's not like he was playing a traditionally really good role like a Stewart, for example, where he was playing the +1 and then just getting everything. He was still playing a defensive role, which I guess worries me a little bit for whether or not. But yeah, the question is, do you have 6 other defenders ahead of him, or would you have him in your top 6? I think we'd all probably still have Sinclair and Dawson in the top 2, and then Stewart would make 3. Do you put, Doherty, Sicily?
I think Gus Brayshaw. I like him in the CBA role that he's got now. I think he'll do it. Aaron
Is that
Hall.
continuing?
Yeah, it is. Angus Brayshaw. Yeah, they said he's going to play mid now.
Yeah. Okay.
Like Dale should be like 105 still. So it'll be thereabouts. Few defenders falling apart. And then Sicily's like, his 5-round is 107, so it's not even that bad. It's just Hardwick just ran for every kick in. Like his life depended on it.
Yeah, I mean,
Made sure.
Redmond's 5-round is 117, which is only behind Sinclair. It's ahead of like Tom Stewart. His 3-round, I think, is the most outside of Tom Barras, who's got a 130. So, final word, is Redmond a top 6 defender for last 3 games of the year? Yes or no?
Top 3.
Top 6. Sorry, top 6 defender.
Top 6. Sorry, I don't know why I heard that.
Yes, he is.
I'd say so.
Enjoy.
Wow. I mean, I don't have him in SuperCoach.
Enjoy in fantasy.
I wish I had him. I wish I had him in SuperCoach. It'd be great.
You brought him up like a month ago, I reckon.
I did,
well.
and it was dismissed pretty quickly. But anyway,
Yeah, as you do with like a 2-week sample size of a player.
Yeah.
I mean, not 2 week. I mean, like he has been playing well for most of the year, but I mean, he's scoring. More he's scoring. All right, let's get to the Q&A, and we'll try and wrap this one up pretty soon. Because to be honest, I'm scrolling through these questions and I only see about 3 SuperCoach ones, so I might sprinkle a few other ones in there. I know it's FPL season. If anyone's keen on getting involved in that, a few of the members have chucked
We're
in.
an FPL server now, apparently.
So I'll ask, well, I don't know how I'm going to ask these questions to you two boys to answer. So probably we'll leave the FPL ones alone.
no, I'll
Your
pick them based
expertise.
on which name I prefer.
Here's one for George. What's your go-to KFC order?
probably less likely to get a stomach ache from the chips. So probably go for that.
One of those hand wipes things. That's what you get.
What sort of water they sell? I don't know.
What are you doing about Hewitt? Well, for me, he's already gone. I think for George, he's already gone, and for JD,
Yeah.
He went
he's
to
already gone.
Himmelberg 2 weeks ago.
So-
Yeah.
We got to wait and get the word on him this week, of course. But if he's out, of course, he's gone. As simple as that, really. Who's your favourite Brisbane ruckman? Sorry, George. I'll try to skip over the ones that are all cornered towards you.
Steph Martin back in the day.
Yeah.
Here's one for JD. Who's worse, Spike or Rutten?
Oh, I so thought you were going to read the golf question above that. It's a Manscaped related question, I guess you could say. Who's worse, Spike or Rutten? It's got to be Spike. That's not even close. Has Rutten done any seriously brain dead coaching moves? Not really.
But no.
I mean, it was resting Hobbs was the biggest crime that he was going to commit earlier in the year. So yeah, easily Spike McVeigh, not close.
Yeah. Here's one that might be hard to do on the spot, but 2 players in each position you want to start next year. Maybe just say one if you've just got one that you think there's no way you'll go without. George?
Down back, Dawson, midfield, Laird, Ruck, Riley. Ruck.
Why to be Strawn?
If Gorn's solo rucking, it could be. If Gorn's solo rucking, he'll be priced at 113 or something, and then just trade him out when he hurts his ankle in round 10 again. And then the forward line, Dunks again. Why not? Rosie, I love Rosie. I'll go him.
Yeah.
If he gets it though.
Yep. I think defense. So Dawson, I really like. I think Himmelberg, Young, and Redmond are the cheap options or cheaper options I'll look at next year. In the midfield, we already touched on it. Steele is the most obvious one for me that I think is both value and premium. Beyond that, a little bit hard to say at the moment. Rucks, maybe English next year. He had a lot go wrong this year, which has kind of brought down his average to 109. Still going to be expensive, but he could have easily been 120 this year. And then the forward line, I'll be looking for any of the the midfielders that retain their forward status. So if any of Bont, Cogs, Parker, Baslenka, Dunkley, any of those retain forward status, they're going to be the first picked. Oh, Rosie as well. Dillmore's a really obvious one, actually. Now, if he's still playing midfield next year, Dillmore.
Yep.
Yeah, Dillmore.
They get rid of Titch or something, which they tried to do last year, which they'll probably try to do again. Probably be a lot harder. And they were unsuccessful at that. But...
North's still trying to field the team, aren't they?
I won't go over every position. You probably covered off Dawson, who I would have said as well. Maybe another one I'll throw up is Andy Brayshaw. We just saw today David Mundy, the legend, retiring, which I thought he would go on again. He's still been pretty serviceable, but he's called it quits. Fife is just battling injury every time. He looks like he's playing again. He gets something else. So, what next year? It'll be Brayshaw, Brody, and Sarong pretty much as the main 3. You would imagine. As JD shakes his head as I say Brody.
Oh yeah, I forgot we could. One of my first, maybe Brody in the midfield.
Will Brody in the midfield.
Get that tank up.
Or maybe one season's enough for him.
Please do that. Please do that.
Take a year off after playing so much this year.
I'm going to enact a no trade clause next year, which is a spoken bond, a contract between you and I that you will not trade out Will Brody if you start him next year. He has to stay there the whole year. No trades.
Deal.
Jumanji asks.
2015.
Jumanji asks, he can't loop, so he has to choose between short versus Port or Ridley versus GWS, just a straight field. I think for me, that's Ridley. He's been solid enough and actually has a role locked down to where he can just go 90 to 100 each week.
Yep.
What do you boys
Ridley
think?
better role. Ridley.
Yeah. I mean, are there any short positions you'd actually field short? If they said he was playing behind the ball, would you take him?
Oh, I don't even care what they said or if we said anything. I'll go Ridley.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's
you're probably not
Ridley
getting something massive, but you're at least getting something not crap. So,
yeah, I think what Blakey went 118 on GWS this week, who's Ridley has. So yeah,
like
I think
Redmond stole all Ridley's ball, but his intercepting still there, of course. And he still gets a little bit.
So Swans had Blakey go 118, Lloyd go 97, and Robbie Fox go 95. So like I think defenders seem to go fine against GWS. I think that'd be where I'd look.
Yep. It's a weird one. Would Soldo get a game in decent side? That doesn't really make sense, this question. Would Soldo get a game in an easy, decent side? I don't know how that's worded, but I don't even know why we're talking about Advanced Soldo. I don't know why I read it out, but
go next.
Would you start Sean Darcy next year?
No, with Luke
the
Jackson.
Ruck's probably the most intriguing line.
Yeah.
So still a lot to go under the bridge.
Well, Darcy's looked okay the past 2 weeks. I thought he's been a bit better getting involved. I don't know. Maybe not.
Getting involved with Petrarca behind the play.
Like a few handballs around the stoppage, getting involved in chains and stuff. I don't know. This is what I'm seeing.
Which means dropping 90s, he's to advantage. They must be down a bit, which is annoying.
Played Gorn, so
yeah, he went well against him the first time, but yeah, obviously Gorn's still a hard matchup. What do we got? Just scrolling through a lot of the crap. He's starting Chad Warner next year.
No,
he is worth considering as a breakout pick next year. It depends on who retires from the Swans midfield or who gets moved on. Although they're not really that old anymore. Kennedy's already not playing there, but maybe on Chad.
There really isn't much else here, boys. Once someone actually asked, hey, boys, I'm struggling with the captaincy option this week. So I guess that's the segue into moving into that as we wrap up, which, again, I think there's a few good options this week. So if any of you boys have looked, jump in. But
yeah, I have. I cannot go past VC Oliver against Collingwood. Easiest mid to score against. Oliver was tagged last week. 21 touches, so like that's still okay for getting tagged. Scored a 80-something, 85, so he's gone a lot worse getting tagged in the past. VC Oliver, for me, I don't know how you can pass it up personally unless you see something else you like a Mills versus North. Yeah, maybe Finn McGuinness does something there, not sure. So I only VC Took, I wouldn't captain him. Meritt gets tagged by Ash, so I would avoid that. And Laird versus West Coast is free, as safe as it can get. So VC, Oliver, C, Laird.
I think if you have Mills, then VCing Mills against North is where I'd go into the C Laird, but none of us have Mills, right? So it's all...
Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise, I mean, Collingwood give up points to midfielders, so I can see the Oliver VC this week.
Yep, that's what I've got.
Yeah, VC. Even maybe if you have Petrarca, it's not the worst option, but I think I'd Oliver's. Yeah, Oliver's Oliver. He's M1.
I mean, Adams is out now. He's probably, as much as I never really played Adams, he's the best inside mid, so they're even less strong in there. So who the hell is going to be their number one contested ball winner, Collingwood, this week?
Yeah, who's going to stand next to Oliver at stoppages?
Yeah, I envisage we take his score, to be honest.
Yeah,
I mean, what? So they're going to have DeGoey, Crisp, and
probably
Carmichael.
Chris probably the next best strength wise.
Maybe Pendles is going back into the midfield this week. I don't know, but none of them sound like they could match up on Oliver. It'd be too big, too strong.
DeGoey's pretty strong. I think he can match up on him, but whether he can go with him is another thing.
Oh, the other thing is they just use him at stoppages and then he pushes forward, which is not
probably
you want someone's going to be accountable on Oliver. Oh, yeah, okay, that's strange. I reckon you have if you're Melbourne, you have Brayshaw go to DeGoey, I would imagine, because you could drift back in defence with him.
Yeah, could do.
Yeah, I hope I have to take Clary's score because I had the C on Took, but you're right. Bloody Finn McGuinness is always there, that bastard. So he could easily go to him. Not that Took's the easiest man to run with, but McGuinness, if anyone can, would probably be him.
I'd be shocked if we weren't taking Clary.
Yeah, so hopefully I can take him because I obviously don't have lead as well, and Meritt, as
Yeah.
you said, probably not touching. Like I'd have to rely on like a Neil or Steele or something who don't have great matchups. So
You could see, like, right before the bounce if Finn McGuinness goes to Took or not.
look, I'll probably just take a 120 from Clary, which I imagine he gets. Play it safe. But if you got Laird, you can roll it, of course, if you're feeling risque, because he's probably due another 140 against the Weagles. That's it, boys.
Yeah.
Do you want to quickly talk about maybe who you reckon will make top 4 and top 8 from here? What are the contentious positions? Just quickly, it's like Lions, the top 4.
So Geelong, Melbourne, Collingwood, Sydney are the top 4 at the moment.
Yeah, like can Lions jump in ahead of the Pies? Probably would be the team to drop out, and then for 8th between, I guess, Saints, Tigers, Bulldogs,
Saints, Richmond,
maybe
Sydney
Carlton,
play-
even if they lose every game.
I think the ladder will stay as is. I think the Dogs can jump in if they win the next 3.
Big game this week.
I think Sydney finished 4th. I think they play Collingwood at home, play the Saints, and
they play each other. A lot of these teams. That's the thing. It's probably going to swing every week.
Yeah,
so.
I like Sydney for 4th. The Dogs or Richmond for 8th.
I think Sydney top 4. It's more Collingwood. I think. You think they finish top 4 as well?
Yeah, I think they will. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think they'll beat Melbourne this week.
Yeah. Then they have.
You think Collingwood's going to beat Melbourne?
No,
Are
you
they
said they
even
don't.
playing each other?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Friday night.
Then they have Sydney George away in Sydney.
That'll be a good game. I don't know.
And then they have that Blues game. So that Blues Pies game could mean top 4 for Pies and top 8 for Blues on the same day. Imagine that.
I can't wait for that game. That'll be fun to watch.
St Kilda's matchup's tough from here, right? Like they're going to lose the next 3.
Brizzy, Geelong, Brizzy, and then
Swans. Yeah.
It's not good.
3 else. So then Richmond's got
Might beat Brisbane at home.
write them off. Ours is pretty good.
Hawks, Essendon. So no top 8 teams. Like,
Course,
and then
it's Richmond, so they got to do it.
Yep. And then Dogs have got Fremantle, Giants, Hawks.
And then
so
easy ones.
you'd imagine,
Dogs and Tigers, really.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it should be Richmond that make the 8. Just looking at the ladder, then, because you're 2 points ahead of
Yes,
the Bulldogs.
they need to win.
And I think
more
you
than
both go 2 and 1. You know, like Richmond probably drops 1 that it should win, and then Bulldogs lose to Freo, win the other 2. So I don't know. And then St Kilda, unfortunately, I just don't think they can win 2 of their last 3. Be pretty epic if they did.
Yeah.
Oh, can you imagine if Carlton missed the 8 because like all of those teams go on heaters and they run home and Carlton?
Well, only
drop
2 of them do. Like Dogs and Tigers both go on heaters, and the Blues lose out. Obviously, it's in their own hands. They win 1, they're in. I think so.
They've got Brisbane, Melbourne, and Collingwood, so they could easily lose all 3. That's the thing.
Depends where the Pies sit, I guess. If they're sitting in an unmovable position, which would be annoying, then they can do what they want. But
yeah,
you still want to play well, obviously, especially with that week off that is still around. They got to get rid of that, don't they? The pre-finals bye kills momentum.
Like, but then you're going to have
if you're a top 4 and you win, you play 1 game in 3 weeks.
It's funny because we haven't actually talked about it much, but Geelong with their position, right? Like, could you see them resting plays in the last round, doing 2-week bye?
Well, the only one you'd worry about would be Stewart, and he's just had a month off. So,
yeah,
anyone else that you
maybe
care
like
about?
Danger.
Not super
Danger.
relevant. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
All right, we've filled in the time there. We'll be back next week to talk all things SuperCoach again. We're gonna probably incorporate, as you know, more of that stuff, more AFL based stuff. Maybe do some, I don't know, some rankings, some tier lists. Probably look at some finals matchups. We'll continue to do these pods throughout the finals as well. You know, maybe have a quick peek at the SuperCoach scores in finals. Not that we care too much, but maybe, you know, we look at some players who might be relevant for next year and spot some things like Kitty Coleman, who we were going to start, who came sort of a light in the finals last year as well, and it's looked really, really good in that role, who unfortunately had a hammy in the preseason, and another one actually. He just
I think it's 3 this year. Never
yeah,
again.
so annoying for him, but yeah, another player like that might pop up in the finals. So it's been good, boys.
Yeah.
Good luck this week. Hopefully, I think I said it before we got on, we're probably just going to be short of top 1K, I think. All of us, probably somewhere in between 1 to 2.
Which
I'm happy with where we were, JD, me and you especially.
Yeah, like I decidedly had a bad year this year. This year's felt really bad. So if in a bad year still getting a top 2K rank, like I guess you take that. But hopefully big rebound next year.
Yeah, hope so.
All right. Thanks for
Torture
listening.
this year.
We'll see you guys next week.